So, we talked about it. We have Mark Sloboda on the show. Mark Sloboda told us when we brought up the issue about the Ethiopian dam that's being built along the Blue Nile. Ethiopia is now trying to build a dam. They're even calling it the Renaissance dams. That's how big and what it means to the country if, in fact, they get this done. Now, it's not letting me do this. If, in fact, they get this done, they're talking about powering electricity throughout their country and whatnot. However, that part of the Nile runs straight up through Sudan and into Egypt. And Egypt is heavily dependent on the Nile River. They're heavily dependent on not just the water, but the sources, the electricity, the current, everything they get from it. So now they've been trying to kind of work out a deal. We'll say, hey, if you're going to build this dam, maybe you can fill it up in 10 years. Maybe you can fill it up in 12 years. Maybe you can do it slowly. Help us out. Maybe we can come to some compromise. Obviously, the West was backing up Egypt and telling them not to go ahead with this. But now it might lead to war, fam, because the showdown on the Nile, Egypt threatens war with Ethiopia as Ethiopia prepares to fill its new dam. Just really quickly, Ethiopia has talked about filling it and filling it quick. It looks like the president over there in Ethiopia is kind of trying to play hardball. Egypt buys a lot of weaponry from the United States. Okay, a lot of people have been talking. I haven't been able to find anything to back this up. That a lot of Egypt weaponry they've been investing in is fuel technology in the air, fam. So if they want to go bomb this dam, they're going to go fly over Sudan, fuel up, bomb it, and come back. We don't know if that's going to happen, but I don't see Egypt kind of sitting still and letting this happen. So this is something we have to pay attention to. Mark Sloboda said he'd highly doubt there would be a war of sorts or if there would be military action. We've already reported in the Sudan there's been a lot of private militias kind of going in and having attacks along the border, trying to scare Ethiopia, let them know that Egypt's just not going to sit back and let this happen. So there is a chance that something can go on. And we've been talking about water wars. Yeah. We're paying attention to water all along here. We watched Aaron Brockovich the other day. We went to the board. We have a nice video up. But this is something to really pay attention to, fam, because as we talk about these crops falling, all the water, all the resources, people aren't even realizing that we've been draining a lot of our natural resources from this country, from this world, from this planet, and polluting a lot of sources as well. So what are your thoughts on this real quick before I go on to the next subject?
I think it's going to be an issue that people maybe aren't paying attention to now. But as we progress and as we are offered measly solutions by the government regarding water, we're going to see that become to a forefront issue because literally we right now in LA we live in a desert pretty much, and a lot of the United States is experiencing water shortages, and so there's also dirty water, contaminated water, as you know, Flint and other areas, West Virginia,
Chromium-6, right?
And then you have added to that the corporations trying to privatize the water. So what we're seeing here in LA, it's growing to a state level, then to a national level, and then of course to the bigger picture worldwide level where countries are going to end up competing for resources of water, and water is life. You cannot survive without water. So either we all get our shit together as humans, or we're all going to be killing each other for something as simple as water very soon.
Well, water is the most important commodity.
It's a human right.
It's the most precious resource on this planet. We can't live without water. Water is more important than food, some would say. All right, so the next topic, we have to just pay attention to that. China inks a military deal with Iran under a secretive 25-year plan. Now, we've been paying attention to what's going on over here. Right. Obviously, with Iran having a lot of problems from the West and them pulling out of the Iranian deal, it doesn't look like Iran may be partnering up with the West anytime soon. However, there are factions within their government that wants the West back in. They don't like their government. And China has been kind of poking around, seeing if they can make a deal. Now, a lot of it has to do with the Belt, Silk, and Road Initiative, the One Belt, One Road, the OBOR initiative. There's going to be a road that will go through Iran for this whole project, and a lot of people think that China was just kind of inking a deal for that. But again, secretively, they've been talking about possibly putting military bases in there. Yep. Now, if that's something really serious to pay attention to, because if they're going to put military bases in Iran, it's going to be right on the border of Saudi Arabia, and that's a U.S. Proxy ally of sorts. So that's going to really make Saudi Arabia really, really nervous. But however, a lot of people are saying that is the deal true? Are they in this particular deal that was reported by this particular article? China pretty much gets a very, very good deal from Iran. In other words, they're going to take over a lot of their manufacturing and their science when it comes to producing the oil, but then they get to buy the oil at a heavily discounted rate. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to pay it for years. They don't have to pay it. They can pay in certain currencies. So a lot of people within Iran were pissed off. And now Press TV, once they saw this article, and this article got so much popularity, they put out their article saying enemy propaganda meant to undermine the strategic partnership deal with China. So that was Iran. That's the next one from Press TV, which Press TV is pretty much an Iranian channel, an Iranian network, and they're trying to say, no, we're not getting raped by the Chinese. They're putting it out there. That's propaganda. Those things aren't backed up. They're not necessarily denying that the deal is going down, but they're trying to kind of walk it back in a way, fam, to say that the Iranian people won't get screwed, because there's a lot of people in Iran who are very nervous that, like, okay, which imperialism do we want? Do we want to deal with imperialism from America now, or do we want to deal with China imperialism down the road? So if we just pretty much give up all our resources for nothing to China, that's going to come back to haunt us. And there's a lot of stuff, Iran, China packed turbochargers, the new Silk Roads. So there's a lot of noise out there. But if you look at these three particular articles that we kind of reference, you'll get a story of like what's going to go on. Are there going to be bases in Iran? How many bases? What's the weaponry? Because in that first article, fam, they talk about a lot of weaponry that really can bring a scare, a frightenness out of Saudi Arabia, who's right on their border where, you know, Iran's going to be like, now we got your ass.
And then we get involved.
Exactly. So it's something to pay attention to. China's starting to flex their muscles and saying, hey, you know, we're going to make this Silk Road initiative there. But you know what? While we're at it, we're going to also put some bases in China. And it also said they're going to trade GIs, bring some GIs to Moscow, because Russia's involved in this deal with their bases, bring some GIs to Beijing. We're going to send some Beijing people and some people from Moscow to Iran. We're going to, with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. So, I mean, they refer to the Iranian people, too, about a certain treaty that was signed after a Russian war where they gave so much up to Russia. They're kind of comparing that same deal right now with that particular deal when Iran gave up so much to Russia, where the people were so upset back in the days because they gave up too much of their resources, they gave up too much of their leverage to Russia. Well, the same thing's going to happen for China. So this is a murky deal at best. We don't know what's going on. We just have to pay attention to it. I think it's
gonna cause the United States to have a sort of like involvement. I think the United States is more adamantly demand war with China, try to like foment more war with China, and I think it's also going to continue its actions against Iran because of this. That's what we do. So look out for that, for the U.S. empire to react to these countries coming together, because you see this allyship being built on that end, and then ours with Saudi Arabia and Israel. So.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people who believe there's people within Iran want to eventually, even despite what's happened, despite the regime change, despite the Shah, the Mossadegh being removed, that they want to go back to the West. Right. There's a lot of people who feel that way in Iran. It's not all just cut and dry in Iran. Right. There's a lot of different facets going on, a lot of different rifts within their government,
which would make like a coup and a sort of overtaking of Iran really like a protest sort of.
They would do what they did before,
right?
With the Shah, you know what I'm saying? They remove Mossadegh and put him in, and they can do it in the same way because the global kind of mentality is, well, China's raping them, and these people want to keep their resources, so under this other NGO that nobody knows about, like the NED, we're gonna go in there and we're gonna present regime change and put our own person up there. Who knows? It's a very hard. It's a cloudy situation, but we have to pay attention to it. We have to pay attention to what China's doing, and Iran, Russia, United States. There's a lot of global conflicts that can happen right now, and it's scary.
It is scary.
Redneck Economics said, y'all should watch Dark Waters. I said, y'all should watch Dark Waters.
Wonderful.
I want to see that. It's an amazing movie about DuPont poisoning the water and the people. Also, Eleanor Goldfield's Hard Road to Hope.
Okay, I haven't seen the second one, but Dark Waters was awesome. It was really enraging, and that just shows you just how long the fight for justice can take, and how we need really good lawyers, because just class action lawsuits take a lot of time and energy, and it's disgusting that the government can lie, and it was these private companies use the government to lie for them too, so they're in on it, and they don't mind poisoning people and killing people.
All right, so the next one is steal the gold, starve the people. The UK commits to highway robbery of Venezuelan gold, says academic. Fam, we talked about this a long time ago. They seized this gold a long time ago. Here comes Venezuela coming back around. Now it's COVID time. Like, yo, we need you to give us that gold. We need to buy resources. We need to buy medication. We need to buy food. We need our gold, but they will not do it. So when it comes to Venezuela, Britain is suffering from split personality disorder, while the UK Foreign Office reportedly maintains full and normal and reciprocal diplomatic relations with legitimately elected President Maduro's government, and with Maduro's UK ambassador. The British government has been actively supporting a self-appointed U.S.-backed Juan Guaido, who led the coup against Maduro in 2019. Last week, the High Court in London ruled that Juan Guaido was unequivocally recognized as the president of Venezuela. There's just one problem with the ruling, however. Juan Guaido isn't the president. So they're still recognizing this. They're still refusing to release the gold. They're still playing ball. Donald Trump, his State Department, is not doing anything to help the situation.
No, they exacerbated the situation. They essentially caused the situation, too. Like, they did that.
They did cause the situation. This was their coup attempt, and they went forward with it. And
again, Trump is not a non-interventionist.
Yeah.
Like, he's not. Sorry.
At all.
No.
And when it comes to Venezuela and Bolivia, these are his very serious actions right here. I mean, you could say what he's tried to do in Afghanistan is kind of good, whatnot. I don't know. I still think that he made a deal to keep the poppy fields with the Taliban. Say, listen, you can have all your resources, you can have all the area, you can have all your territory back. Just give us the poppy fields so we can do our opium extract, so we can put opioids out to the United States and kill Americans. Johnny, what do you got? What you love? Juan Guaido? Go ahead. Remember this video? This video was so good.
Puppet. Juan Guaido.
You got to install our own puppet, right? Steal that country's natural resources.
The leader to step down. Hey, Maduro, get out of there. 6, install our own puppet. Juan Guaido. Number 7, steal that
I just love it that
country's
you said
natural
puppet.
resources.
For corporate gains, and that's what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? They're doing the same thing now. They're seizing their gold and whatnot. Guys, thank you for the 10 people over on the Rockfin and the 230 people on the YouTube.
Thank you.
Now, I don't want to praise or put out there Colin Powell, because we all remember when he went to the UN and he sold the Iraq war about weapons of mass distraction, is what Reverend Al Sharpton called them, which was one of the best things he ever said. Because they were weapons of mass distraction. They allowed and pretty much manufactured consent and fooled the American people, just like they fooled the American people that Obama was a communist socialist. And then we went in to invade Iraq, killing over 1 million people, just destabilizing the whole region. It was one of the worst things of all. I still say to this day that George Bush Jr. was the worst president. He actually legalized torture, and it was disgusting. But we want to talk about, Colin Powell still does have a lot of connections to the military, an ex-military man, and he even talked about the Bounty Gate situation, the way they exacerbated it.
Exacerbated.
Thank you, man. My tongue gets in the way. He was a puppet. Anyways, but listen, this is Colin Powell talking about what they did with the Bounty Gate story. Take a look.
Our military commanders on the ground did not think that it was as serious a problem as the newspapers were reporting and television was reporting. It got kind of out of control before we really had an understanding of what had happened. I'm not sure we fully understand now. But General McKenzie, who is the sink, as I call him in the military, he was commander-in-chief. He has indicated that he did not think that this was of that level of importance to us. Remember, it's not the intelligence community that's going to go fight these guys. It's the guys on the ground. It's our troops. It's our commanders who are going to go deal with this kind of a threat using intelligence that was given to them by the intelligence community. But that has to be analyzed. It has to be adjusted. And then you have to go find out who the enemy is. And I think we were on top of that one, but it got almost hysterical in the first few days. Our military commanders on the ground.
Hysterical in the first. And listen, they actually used this right here, this particular Fugazi story, to actually allow them to vote against the Afghani, potential to end the war. They stood behind this in the House. They used this to put up other roadblocks to pull troops. They used this phony story right here to actually get away with, perpetrating war. Perpetuating war. Perpetuating war. I mean, it was really, really, really bad, fam, what they did. I get really upset when I talk about this situation because it's so aggravating, because this should have been a historic vote. But they used this phony situation to be at odds with Russia, to keep the the nuclear threat on the table, and there's no link to talking with Putin because all roads lead to Putin because they're still continue on with their demonizing of Vladimir Putin. We know he's a gangster. They're all gangsters, right? So, I mean, Pam, your thoughts on that?
I mean, Trump, it's the same bullshit, right? Like, all of these people in power tend to be gangsters, so they trying to get a group of gangsters together to diplomatically talk down war and to pacify things is really difficult because we don't have a lot of great people in power, especially right now, even in the UK, like what they did to Venezuela. I mean, it's like we have the wrong people in power, and that's the whole thing. Like, it just feels powerless because the military industrial complex and the intelligence agencies are moving the pieces behind the scenes. So I just think I think this is why people need to pay attention to foreign policy, because all of our money is all of our energy is driven by imperialism.